Good evening. Welcome to Cornerstone Home Inspector Education Center. Tonight we have latest home technologies. This is going to be a little limited. It's not going to be on every single new technology that's available in the housing market. We're going to cover roofing, heating, windows, insulation, plumbing, and some whole house systems. This is, I would call this very sort of generic. We're not getting in depth into any of these systems. And so that I don't repeat myself completely through this whole webinar, you are not going to be seeing a lot of this stuff that we talk about in your career. You may in the next couple of years, but most of this stuff you're not going to be seeing on a daily basis. Some of it you will be. So state standards for Connecticut, Mass, Rhode Island, New Jersey, and New York. The general standards of practice, a home inspection obviously is a visual, functional, and non-invasive examination of the readily accessible and observable installed systems and components of residential building as they exist at the time of the inspection. Inspectors shall generally inspect the structure system, the foundation, exterior components, roof systems, plumbing systems, electrical systems, heating and cooling systems, interior ceilings, walls, floors, doors, windows, stairs, and railings, insulation and ventilation, fireplaces and solid fuel burning appliances, and attached garages or carports. The inspector shall identify and describe the system and components inspected, report observed conditions that are materially defective, significantly deteriorated, improperly functioning, or potentially unsafe, and recommend appropriate repair, replacement, monitoring, or further evaluation by a qualified professional. Any system component or area that was not inspected shall be identified in the report together with the reason why it was not inspected. This is what we've been doing going forward on our webinars is when we have a discussion like this on newer technology, most state standards don't cover specific newer technology, solar shingles and stuff like that. So this sort of standard will cover everything, but always check your local state standard considering any of these systems. Modern homes are changing quickly. Home inspectors are now seeing advanced roofing materials, solar integrated systems, high efficiency heating equipment, smart plumbing protection, improved insulation assemblies, high performance windows, and whole house automation systems. This webinar introduces inspectors to current and emerging residential technologies, what they are designed to do, and what home inspectors should look for during a visual inspection. Learning objectives. By the end of this webinar, inspectors should be able to identify, recognize newer home technologies in modern and recently updated homes, grasp the basic purpose and limitations of these systems, recognize, spotlight inspection concerns, installation issues, and reporting limitations. And you want to communicate these systems to clients in a clear, non-technical manner. And then refer, know when to recommend further evaluation for a qualified specialist. The technology shift in residential homes. So homes are becoming more energy efficient, connected, and automated. This shift is driven by rising energy costs, electrification trends, comfort expectations, resistance demands, water conservation goals, and insurance concerns. Section 1, roofing technology. We're going to cover some solar shingles, cool roofs, impacted resistant materials, metal, and composite systems. The modern roof is more than just a shelter. So solar roofing and solar shingles. I've not seen a lot of solar shingles, but we do see a lot of solar roofing. So what are they? Integrated solar shingles functions as both a roof covering and a power generation. They may resemble conventional shingles, but include electrical components, wiring, inverters, and monitoring systems. The estimated lifespan of 25 to 30 years, though long-term performance data is still emerging for many of these products. Again, we're not seeing a lot of these solar shingles. Key brands. Solar shingles remain a growing technologies. Brands commonly discussed in residential market include Tesla Solar Roof, GAF Energy Timberline Solar, and CertainTeed Apollo. Solar shingle systems are effectively new to the market, and lifespan data continues to develop as installations age. Full roof materials, reflective shingles, metal roofing, and specialized coatings are designed to reduce heat absorption. Some asphalt shingles now use reflective granules to help reduce attic heat gain and cooling demand. The meaningful benefit in warm climates. Estimated lifespan, reflective asphalt shingles 20 to 30 years, reflective metal roofing 40 to 7 years, depending upon the roofing and the coating. Again, when you see a metal roof, how are you supposed to know if it's a cool material? Okay, so that has to go into sort of might be in the disclosures. You might ask your agent. Usually, excuse me, on something like this, if you're going to have that kind of roof on a house in the 5 states that we're offering credit to, the homeowner is going to mention that. And at that point, that's something that you want to update into your report and come up with a narrative for it. Impact resistant and storm resistant roofing. Class rated shingles, rated for impact resistance against hail and wind driven debris, estimated lifespans of 25 to 30 years, with impact resistant ratings potentially extending performance in hail prone areas. Synthetic underlayment. Upgraded underlayments provide better moisture and wind protection. Estimated lifespans are 25 to 50 years, depending upon the product, typically outlast traditional felt underlayments. We have enhanced flashing now. Improved flashing systems reduce vulnerability at the roof transitions and penetrations. Properly installed metal flashing can last 30 plus years when maintained. These systems are increasingly common in areas with wind, hail, heavy rain, and storm exposure. So again, the class rated shingles, they're going to be a little bit thicker. Again, you're going to have to really get in there at the edge of the roof or on the roof to see if that's, you're going to be able to pick that out. Of course, we're not going to be able to see the synthetic underlayment, but again, this webinar is not about going into each product in depth. It's just letting you know what's coming down the road. If you're watching this as a pre-recorded event, the viewing code is NH9292. Metal and composite roofing. Standing seam metal. It's durable, long-lasting, and increasingly popular in residential use. Estimated lifespan, 40 to 70 years. Stone-coated steel combines the durability with the appearance of traditional shingles. Estimated lifespan, 40 to 50 years. Synthetic slate and composite shakes. Lightweight alternatives to natural slate with improved longevity. Estimated lifespan, 30 to 50 years, depending upon manufacturer and product line. So people will ask me, are you going to walk on a metal roof? No, I'm not going to do that. They'll also ask, everybody thinks a metal roof's going to last 100 years. And especially, it's the same thing with the slate. It depends upon the thickness of the metal and the gauge of the metal, how long it's going to last. So that estimated lifespan, 40 to 70 years is a bit much, but you will come up with your, own narrative. I know personally on my reports, I do about 30 to 60 years. So I am seeing more metal roofs. The stone-coated steel, I have not seen any yet in Connecticut. And same thing with the synthetic slate. Just, I'm not seeing any of it right now. And it's most likely a cost. Roof inspection concerns. Do not walk on solar roofs. Solar roof systems should not be walked on unless specifically permitted by the manufacturer. Observe penetrations and wiring. Roof penetrations, flashing, wiring pathways, and attic penetrations should be observed where visible. Report limited access. Report limitations when snow, height, slope, solar arrays, or access restrictions prevent full inspection. And we always want to recommend the qualified or licensed roofing or solar contract for defects, damage, or unknown installation quality. So on these kind of solar, again, we're not seeing any of the solar roofs, but on the solar panels, I know I do not put those in the report. However, I will note if I see damage. I will note if they're fogging. I will note if there is debris um, underneath the panels. If I see light coming through in the attic, that happens a lot. Um, Basically, that's what I put in. But testing the amount of energy they produce, which I get asked a lot, I just don't do. What I do at the end of the inspection is I'll tell my client, you got to find out about the contract for this solar. Are you going to be assuming something that you don't want to? Is the contract not to your benefit? Um, if they're under contract and that contract doesn't transfer, do you have to buy them out? That's something attorneys have to look at. Metal roofing, what to know. Fastening, check for exposed or missing or improper fasteners. Flashing, inspect all transitions, valleys, and penetrations. Corrosion, look for rust, coating damage, or dissimilar metal contact. Transition, note any improper transition between roofing materials. So again, we want to make sure that, are there any exposed fasteners? Does anything look loose? Want to make sure all our valleys and penetrations are nice and tight. Do we need a cricket, as you can see here, because this is over 3 feet wide? Obviously, any kind of corrosion damage, that's easy to spot most of the time. And then transitions between roofing material. Section 2 of 6, heating and cooling technology. Cold climate heat pumps, ductless mini splits, variable speed systems, and smart thermostats are reshaping residential HVAC. R32. Cold climate heat pumps. Modern heat pumps are increasingly designed for colder climates and may serve as the primary heating systems, even in regions with harsh winters. The U.S. Department of Energy Cold Climate Heat Pump Challenge focused on improving residential performance in colder regions. Energy Star recognizes cold climate heat pumps pathways for certain high efficiency systems. What's changed? Modern heat pumps are increasingly designed for colder climates and again, may serve as the primary heating. Even in regions with harsh winters, it's no longer 40 degrees and then it clicks over to emergency. They can go down to 0. Recognition of standards, again, most of these heat pumps are getting the Energy Star rating, so that's good. Ductless mini splits. Mini splits are common for additions, older homes, converted spaces, and zone heating cooling. Inspectors should check line sets, variable refrigerant and condensate lines, visible refrigerant and condensate lines, drainage, condensate drainage pathways and termination, clearances, outdoor unit and clearance and mounting, electrical disconnect, and basic operation. So with the mini splits, we have the outdoor condenser and the indoor air handler. And again, we want to check to make sure everything's properly installed. There's no corrosion, no damage. These can be a little bit difficult to check the age on. I know the Fujitsus are hard, but a lot of the manufacturers now, I know on the newer stuff, are putting the dates of the manufacturer, which makes it easier for the life cycles. And then outdoor units and clearance. These things have to be up off the ground because of snow and debris and such. Variable speed and inverter systems, how they work. Newer variable speed and inverter driven systems run longer at lower speeds for improved comfort and efficiency. They modulate output rather than cycling on and off like older equipment. Inspector caution, low airflow and quiet operation is not automatically a defect. Inspectors should avoid assuming these systems are malfunctioning based on behavior that differs from older on and off equipment. Smart thermostats and zoning. So we have occupancy sensing, detects the presence to adjust temperature automatically. We have now remote control. Homeowners can adjust settings from anywhere via their app. Learning schedules, systems learn occupant patterns and optimize automatically, and smart home integration. Some thermostats connect with broader energy management platforms. Um, these become very difficult during inspection sometimes. And we'll get into this during the webinar. But what I've been telling my clients with these is the younger clients will get these instantly. If you're over 40, you're going to have difficult with these thermostats, especially the learning schedules. I know I have one and I hate it. I like my temperature at a set control all the time, and it's constantly learning. HVA inspection concerns. Confirm basic response. Test response to normal controls when condition allows. Identified visible defects, damaged insulation, poor clearances, improper condensate disposal, unusual noise or vibration. Report untested systems. Note when systems are not tested due to temperature, access, disconnected power, fuel shutoff, or client limitations. Recommend HVAC contractor for complex communicating, proprietary, or malfunctioning systems. So, improper condensate disposal is something that I'll comment on. I see most of the time it's going right outside. A lot of times it'll go right into the septic system. And I would say if you've got 10 septic be going in there, and 5 will tell you it's no big deal. So I sort of just note where it is. I tell them the less water going into a septic system, the better. If it's town sewer, it doesn't matter. But speak to your septic guy. I'll just push it off to the septic guy. And testing response to normal controls when conditions allow. If it's connected to someone's smartphone, that's fine. You can run it from the thermostat. That's great. But just be careful. You don't want to start programming it to disconnect from the phone or anything like that. Section 3 of 6, window technology. Triple pane glass, low E coatings, gas fills, smart glazing, and thermally broken frames. Modern windows are high performance systems. Triple pane windows, where are they found? Triple pane windows are more common in high performance homes, cold climates, and energy conscious new construction. The benefits are improved energy efficiency, sound reduction, enhanced occupant comfort, often paired with low E coatings and gas fills. Again, these are windows that I think I've seen them twice in 16 years. Low E coatings and gas fill glass. So low E coatings, low E coatings help control heat transfer through the glass, reducing solar gain and loss depending upon climate needs. Gas fills, argon and krypton gas fills between panes improves insulation performance compared to air-filled units. Limitation inspectors. Inspectors cannot verify gas fill during a standard home inspection. This is outside the scope of our visual inspection. So the low E coatings you can pick up, but as if they're filled with gas, you're just not going to know that unless it's disclosed. Frame technology, composite, fiberglass, and thermally broken. Modern frame materials offer significant advantages over metal frames. We have better performance. Composite and fiberglass frames heat transfer more effectively than aluminum. Reduce condensation. Thermally broken frames minimize cold spots and lead to condensation and moisture damage. I've done many homes, high-end homes. I've done a couple in Litchfield where I'll get a call from the client. There's condensate on all my windows, because it's cold outside and warm inside. That's what's going to happen. I had one client call me up and say that the window company said that they needed all new windows. I said that's not the case, so don't worry about that. But smart glass and dynamic glazing. Some advanced windows can tint electronically or respond to sunlight, reducing glare and heat gain without blinds or shades. Inspector awareness. These systems may require wiring controls and automation integration. Inspectors should note their presence and report any visible installation concerns, but performance evaluation is outside the standard scope. Again, we're just not, I just have not run into any of this, but the purpose of this webinar is just to expose you to it so that you sort of know what it does a little bit. Inspection concerns, failed seals and fogging. Fogging or cloudiness between panes indicates a failed insulation glass unit. Physical damage, cracked glass, damaged hardware, poor operation, and missing screens should be reported. Water intrusion signs, look for leakage stains and improper flashing around windows. Performance claims are out of scope. Energy ratings, gas filled, and coating performance cannot be verified during a visual inspection. Um, unless you're a brand new inspector, you should know what a sealed, what a fogging window is. Broken glass is pretty. When I tell people when I start an inspection on the outside, I've done many, many inspections where I go, there are no problems with the windows from the outside. Now, of course, I haven't run any of them. And when I go inside, I'll find broken glass and fogging windows. So what long ago, what I told people is, listen, from the outside, from what I could see, everything looks pretty much okay, but that can change when I go inside. The way the sun hits, vegetation, height, cracked glass can go unnoticed. A fogging window, if it's just started fogging, can go unnoticed, unless I'm standing right at the window inside the house. So that's always something that I sort of disclaim at the beginning. And you should have a good moisture meter because a lot of times moisture is very old and hasn't been taken care of. Section 4 of 6. Insulation and building envelope. Spray foam, continuous exterior insulation, mineral wool, phase change materials, and type building ventilation strategies. Spray foam insulation, where it is used. Spray foam is applied in attics, roof lines, walls, rim joists, and crawl spaces. It can dramatically improve air sealing performance. Challenge inspection challenge. Spray foam may hide framing, sheathing, wiring, leaks, and structural concerns. Inspectors must report visible limitations and recommend qualified evaluation where concealed defects are suspected. So I'm not a big fan of spray foam anymore in a lot of applications. And I do point it out where it is. I do point out the limitations of it. I do point out now the challenges of it. You go into an attic, it's all spray foam. Where's the water going if there's damage to the roof? What if the sheathing starts breaking down? What happens to how do we get that spray foam off? How are we going to replace, once we break that seal? I think there's a lot of problems with spray foam that you need to let your clients know that can happen. Continuous exterior insulation. Rigid foam or mineral wool boards may be installed outside the sheathing to reduce thermal bridging, a condition where heat escapes through framing members that bypass cavity insulation. This approach is more common in high performance construction and energy code compliant new builds. Again, you're not going to see any of this, but it's good to see it in a picture and know about it. Mineral wool and advanced batt insulation. Well, mineral wool does not burn and can slow fire spread. It resists moisture absorption better than fiberglass batt, and it's sound reducing, provides acoustic dampening in walls and assemblies. Used in walls, basements, and exterior assemblies, both in new construction and renovation projects. Viewing code. If you are viewing this as a pre-recorded event, your code is JY3922. Phase change materials and advanced envelope products. What they do. Some new materials are designed to absorb and release heat to help regulate indoor temperature, acting as a thermal buffer within the building envelope. Inspector awareness. These products may appear similar to conventional insulation or sheathing. Inspectors should note their presence if identifiable, but performance evaluation is outside the scope. So again, you're going to not see a lot of this stuff, but it's good to know. Air sealing and ventilation balance. Tighter homes need ventilation. As homes become more airtight, Controlled mechanical ventilation becomes essential for indoor air quality. ERVs and HRVs, energy recovering ventilators and heat recover ventilators may be present in high performance homes to exchange stale air while recovering energy. Moisture control. Tight homes need moisture management strategies. Inspectors should recognize that inadequate ventilation can lead to moisture problems. So again, I have seen some of these ERVs in basements. And again, with the moisture control, with the condensation on the window, that's what these systems help with. So these are systems to look out for and know. Insulation inspection concerns. Spray foam limits visibility. Roof sheathing, framing, wiring, and moisture conditions may be concealed. Sealed attic assemblies. Attic ventilation may be intentionally different. Inspectors should recognize sealed attic design before flagging as a defect. Report limitations. Clearly report when insulation blocks visibility of structural or mechanical components. Recommend evaluation. Refer to qualified evaluation where improper foam, moisture, staining, odor, lack of ventilation, or concealed defects are suspected. So again, you go into an attic and the whole thing is, all spray foam. You got to write that you can't see any of the sheathing. Inspections limited. Some of the framing is not visible. What you can put in your reports is where visible and accessible, the framing looked in good condition or there were issues noted. But the limitation of inspection is extremely important when you're seeing these systems. I know sometimes I get asked a lot of questions about the R value of insulation and how what the R value of the spray foam is and all that. And I have so many things to do during an inspection. I honestly don't get into it with my customers. So I just tell them that's just outside our scope. Plumbing technology. Smart leak detection, heat pump water heaters, tankless systems, and whole house water monitoring are reshaping residential plumbing. Smart leak detection systems, how they work. Sensors placed near water heaters, laundry areas, bathrooms, kitchens, basements, and mechanical rooms detect moisture and alert homeowners. Some systems include automatic water shutoffs. It's a growing integration. Smart leak detection and automatic shutoff features are now being integrated directly into water heaters and whole house plumbing protection systems, not just standalone sensors. So I know in Connecticut and new construction, the water heaters now, when they're installed, have to have leak detection. And I'm sure eventually it'll be code to have the smart leak detection and automatic shutoff feature to be installed. These systems are not tested. So if you see a whole house water shutoff, note it in your report, but also note the limitation of inspection that it was not tested. Same thing with these sensors by the water heaters and such. These also can be connected to your iPhone or any technology, iPad and stuff like that. So if you're at dinner, something's leaking, you get warned. Heat pump water heaters. Heat pump water heaters are becoming more common as energy efficient replacements for standard electrical water heaters. According to Energy Star, these units generally require a temperature range, interior space between 40 degrees and 90 degrees Fahrenheit for proper operation. Air volume, sufficient surrounding air volume to extract your heat efficiently. If you had joined us for, I think it was our water heater presentation, I think it says 2030, they are outlawing electric water heaters 30 gallons or more, unless they have a heat pump installed. And the feedback that I'm getting from a couple of plumbers that I've spoken to is these are okay systems, but in some instances they might not keep up for what they need for the demand for the house. So it's something that I do put in my reports now, that this is newer technology and that they should just monitor their hot water during periods of cold, different weather conditions to see if it's supplying the hot water that they need. But there is the possibility that these things aren't keeping up with the demand as well as they should. I'm sure the technology will get better. I've not gotten any complaints from my customers, but I have spoken to a couple of plumbers who are not really happy with them. Tankless and condensating water heaters. They're compact and efficient, heats water only when needed, freeing floor space and cutting standby losses. Venting requirements. Condensating models must be correctly vented and their acidic condensate must be drained properly. Water quality matters. Mineral scale and poor water quality can reduce performance and shorten service life. These are good systems. They've been around for a while now. I'm seeing older systems now that I'm inspecting, 2008, 2009, and they're still on the wall. They're still producing hot water. Everybody seems happy. People get confused. Sometimes they'll think this is the heating system. So a little education for people who are not familiar with these systems. I'm taking a little bit more time to go through them. There is maintenance that is required on these things. I do put that in the report on all my water heaters, obviously, but these do require a little bit more maintenance. I'll also tell them to be aware that if you have a house that's 5,000 square feet and you see one tankless water heater and your family's visiting for Christmas and you got 30 people there, it's going to be tight. You might have to wait a little bit time between showers. So it's something just to be on the lookout for. Plumbing inspection concerns. Identify key components: shut-off valves, visible leaks, corrosion, discharge piping, venting, combustion air, condensate lines, and electrical connections. We want to make sure they're all good. Don't rely on smart devices. Smart leak detections do not replace visual inspection. Report on what is visible and accessible. Recommend a plumber for active leaks, improper discharge, piping, poor venting, unsafe installation, or equipment error indicators. One of the things that was happening in my reports, because I've been redoing my comments, is, if you've been using the same comment for a long time, I didn't even pick this up. On one of my comments, I was having a plumber evaluate the water heater when it was sort of an electrical issue. So go through I try to go through my comments at least once a year. It really helps on the comments that you don't use a lot. I've been updating them, putting in the 4 pillars of the observation, implication, recommendation, and limitation. So that's been helpful. It has cut my phone calls down from my clients and my agents dramatically. It's a big help. Whole house technology and smart home systems. Energy management, solar and battery storage, smart panels, EV chargers, and cybersecurity. The connected home is here. Smart home energy management systems. These systems connect thermostat, lighting, plug loads, appliances, EV chargers, solar, and battery storage into a unified energy platform. Energy Star's Smart Home Energy Management Systems programs recognizes systems that help manage and reduce energy use. We have our smart thermostat. It's the core component of any Energy Star recognized basic package. Smart lighting, come in, it's gonna, know when to turn on, when to turn off. Plug load monitoring tracks and controls energy uses at individual outlets and devices. I know Ting has a device that my insurance company was pushing that I register it and you plug it into your outlet. It checks all the electricity in the house if there's any shorts or anything like that. I know we have that for electrical panels now. You have smart panels coming out that have that technology so that it is monitoring the electrical output for any issues or anything. Solar battery storage and backup power. Many homes now include solar panels, backup batteries, smart panels, and generator transfer equipment. Inspectors should identify visible components, but avoid detailed performance evaluations. These systems require special assessments. The question I get always is, do I have enough capacity in my house? I have 2 Teslas and I need a charging station for them. And I have 100 amp service, so you're not gonna have enough. So, on that's an easy call. On 200 amp service, you should have enough for an electrician to come in. These systems are not inexpensive to put in, and that's something else that you should, tell your clients. Although, they probably know that if they have a Tesla. Smart electrical panels and load management. Circuit monitoring. Smart panels can monitor individual circuits and track energy use in real time. Load shedding can shed non-essential loads and prioritize EV charging or critical circuits. Solar and battery integration manages interaction between solar generation, battery storage, and grid power. These systems may require specialty contractors for evaluation and service. In California, when they had their first big brownout many, many, many years ago, when solar panels were put on everywhere, everybody was shocked that they didn't have power because no one understood they didn't have battery backup. They were just putting electricity into the system. They were not storing electricity, and they were all educated at that point during their power crisis. So you have to tell your clients that you may have solar panels, but I don't see any battery backup. It does not mean that when you lose power that you're going to have power. Those cannot run just on the solar panel. EV chargers. Level 2 chargers, 240 volts, are increasingly common in residential garages and driveways. They significantly reduce charging time compared to standard outlets. What inspectors should observe: note visible wiring, conduit mounting, and physical condition, electrical disconnects, panel labeling, and circuit identification. Do not certify charging performance. What I do is I take pictures of the stuff, not inspect it. Recommend to have a licensed electrician come out and inspect it. Cybersecurity and connected devices. Smart devices may include cameras, locks, thermostats, appliances, irrigation, lighting, leaking detectors, garage door controls. The US Cyber Trust Mark was launched to help consumers identify connected devices that meet certain cybersecurity standards. Inspectors should be aware this label exists. So you go into a house. Interesting, I had my garage door motor replaced a couple weeks ago. And it's pretty cool. It's got a camera, it's got sensors. When I walk in, the light for the motor turns on. I have it on my phone. I can open and close it from my phone. I registered it with Amazon. So when the wife gets a package delivered, the Amazon gets a one-time code, the driver gets a one-time code, he opens up the garage door, throws the package in, closes the garage door. My camera on my motor is taking picture of that while that happens, for anybody coming in and out. So it's very, very cool. When you're doing an inspection and you see cameras everywhere, be cautious of what you're talking because people are listening. You are being recorded. I assume that wherever I am on a property, inside the house, that someone's watching and I'm being recorded. If I see the cameras and the microphones and all that, I tell my clients, listen, I'm not going to really speak as openly as I would to you during most of the inspection. If there's something dramatically wrong, I'm going to look at you in a weird way and we're going to go outside or privately and talk because I don't want the homeowner listening to what I'm saying. There's many instances where I'll say to somebody, listen, you have open risers on your exterior stairs. They're 4 inches rather than 3 inches, whatever the case may be. It's not a big deal. There's 5 of them. No one's going to fall through, but I'm going to put in the report that there's open risers. Don't worry about it. Now the client gets all upset and says, I want those risers closed. And the homeowner's got a recording where I said it's not a big deal. So just be careful what you're talking about when there's these cameras around. They actually have to disclose if there are cameras there and they're recording. No one does, but they should do it. Smart home inspection concerns. Access limitations are common. Smart home systems may be password protected, app controlled, disconnected, or unavailable during the inspection. Report what was observed. Inspectors should report on whether these systems were observed but not fully evaluated and why. Again, we're going to recommend specialists refer security, automation, networking, solar, battery, EV charging, or proprietary control systems to qualified specialists. Just don't say electrician for everything. Final inspector summary. Key messages every inspector should carry forward from this course. Discussion question 1. Should home inspectors operate smart home devices if the owner's app or password is required? Well, we're going to consider the scope of the inspection, liability, client expectations, and the difference between observing systems and operating it through proprietary controls. The answer to this question is no. You should not operate these devices if the owner's app or password is required. That's pretty simple. And you're going to manage your client's expectations. I do prior to the inspection by telling them there are limitations to this inspection. And if there is smart technology that requires passwords, we are not running those systems. So that expectation prior to the inspection is very important. Also, in the pre-inspection agreement, I have a paragraph that is pretty much new within the last couple of months that states that these proprietary controls are not going to be operated if a password and such is required. Because all that matters at the end is the report and your documentation. What you say in an inspection counts, but not as much. Question 2. How should inspectors report solar shingles or roof integrated solar systems? Well, we want to identify the presence of the integrated solar roofing. We want to observe and report on visible conditions, the wiring, the penetrations, the flashing, but we want to clearly state performance is outside the scope and refer to the solar roofing contractor. Question 3, what limitations should be included when spray foam blocks attic or framing visibility? Inspectors should clearly report that spray foam insulation limits or prevents visual inspection of the roof sheathing, framing members, wiring, and moisture conditions. The report should state what was not visible and why, and recommend qualified evaluation where concealed defects are suspected, particularly odor, staining, or improper application is noted. Question 4. How should an inspector explain a heat pump system that operates differently from traditional furnace? Heat pumps run longer at a lower output, produce less intense heat at registers that may not feel like a furnace, but this is normal operation, not a defect. Client communication, explain in plain language that the system is designed to operate differently. Avoid alarming clients with comparisons to older equipment. Recommend HVAC contractor review if actual performance concerns exist. So these newer systems can be difficult for people to understand. I had a client one time walking around the house with baseboards. It was a husband and wife, asked me, what fuel source do I have? And I said, you heat the house with oil. Oil is your fuel source. And you have a boiler. So I have oil in my baseboards. And I was like, no, you do not have oil in your baseboard. You have water in your baseboard. You have a boiler, which boils water and sends it to your baseboards, which radiates heat. No, we heat with oil. We have oil in our registers. Where I looked at the client and I said, if that's what you would like to believe, that is fine. The agent looked at me and said, why would you let them believe that? And I said, because I'm going to write in the report that this is what the client believed, but the inspector told them 4 times that there was water in those systems. So I'm not there to argue with you. I'm not there to make you feel bad. I'm trying to communicate it in a very simple and basic way. But if it's not going to sink in, it's not going to sink in. At that point, though, and this has happened on many occasions, if I feel a client is not understanding that, I will put that in the report. I also put in the report if the clients followed me around, if the client wasn't there, if the client wasn't attentive. And just had a situation where an agent texted me that the client was very concerned that the home inspector missed window issues. And I looked up the report and I had a big picture of a couple of fogging windows. And I noted that all the back windows in the house were screwed shut and were non-functional and recommended for evaluation. The client called the agent upset. The agent read the report. We talked. I said, here's the comment. And at the beginning of the report, it said that the client did not follow me through the inspection. The agent didn't say anything, called the client. Everything's fine. They read the report. Clients do not read the reports. And if they're not going to follow you around, you've got to put that into your report. Discussion 5, should smart leak detection devices be tested during a standard inspection? We've talked about this. Smart leak detection devices are generally not tested during a standard home inspection. The inspector should note their presence, observe visible conditions, and report on any obvious installation concerns. Testing proprietary sensor systems or triggering automatic shutoff valves are outside the scope of the inspection and could create liability and disrupt a home's system. The inspector's guiding principle: observe, report, and refer. I add the implication. So you're observing what's happening. If there's an issue with the insulation on a unit outside, on an AC unit outside, I put that in the report. I take a picture of it. The implication is that the unit's not going to be, the condenser's not going to be as efficient. And then recommend evaluation by the appropriate contractor. And then the limitation of inspection. You can only see what I could see. I can't see what's behind walls. I can't see what's under the ground. That sort of limitation. So we're a little bit early tonight. Thank you for attending our latest and greatest home technology. I'm going to stop sharing now and take any questions. Do we have anything we'd like to talk about today? Because we're a little bit early.
Jim, I'm going to cut in for a minute.
Sure.
I started my business in '89. I'm just starting to realize that I've seen 2 decades of building materials come and go. When I first started, the architectural shingles were just starting to become the material of choice. They had a lot of problems with the mixture of asphalt and the mats and stuff like that, but they worked it out. Vinyl siding was just coming into being. So if you're in this business long enough, you're going to see stuff come and go. You have a little bit of a reprieve in the middle because you get to see the stuff for a long time and your comments don't have to change. If you're in it long enough, you're going to have to revise your reports. I think technology is going to change the way we do business now. It's starting to already. AI, all these systems that are coming into homes, we may have to figure out and learn. And well, not me, because I'm turning all those houses down. If they say, I'm kidding, but I won't have to, but we may have to change our approach to how we're doing some of these things, because then we'll be saying, oh, that's not within the scope of the inspection to have the stuff in the house. So we may have to become, technicians on all that stuff as well.
Right.
Hopefully for more money, hopefully.
Well, I know like the smart thermostats are a big thing. And when they first started coming out, I found them a little cumbersome to use till I got used to them. So now I pretty much got them all figured out so I can, get heat and cool go. I'm not going to start. I go through a little bit of how it's set with them because a lot of the Nest ones have where you can do heat and cool. So, with all that smart learning and stuff like that, I'll tell them that the thermostat has the ability to do that. But again, maybe state standards will change. Maybe, Stan, your point is well taken, is that in another 15, 20 years, there's going to be so many of these systems in the house that we don't have to inspect now, that it'll be half the house that we're not inspecting because it's a smart toilet or it's a smart shower head that, knows when you're clean, it's going to automatically shut off. We don't know what's coming down the road. and the state, the states might change the state standards to say, you know what, guys, now we want a little bit more thorough inspection of the solar panels, or we want you to note if there's not smart water shut off in certain areas. They may do that. I know in Connecticut, probably not going to happen because they don't change the state standards a lot. So
Don't forget, the standards for home inspections were originally devised by home inspectors. Um, the ASHI gang,
right,
and then all these states just adopted the standards, maybe put a little twist on them, stuck a couple more lines in there, changed a little bit of language, but it was definitely to benefit the home inspector, because look at, quite frankly, a lot of them didn't have trade background. They had to make it almost like an appraisal.
right,
What you can see, you report on. We're not diving into anything. I think
right.
that attitude is going to change. I think it's changing now. I think it's going to have to change.
But one of the things that I'm definitely doing in my reports on the plumbing end is on the water heater and the water shutoff. You may consider the installation of an automatic shutoff device, an automatic leak detector. So I'm informing them that these things exist if they're not there, and they'll have the option whether they want to put it in or not. So some of this technology we can start not sort of offering, but letting our clients know exists, um, so that they have the option to put them in if that becomes a concern. Like I said, the newer construction, my understanding is when you put a new water heater in, it better have a shutoff, an automatic shutoff. So that's in Connecticut, I believe. But leak detection by a boiler, that's not required. And, I'll have clients look at me and they'll go, well, I need it for the water heater, but I don't need it for the boiler. I'm like, well, they make sensors now. You can throw them on the cement floor. And if it senses any water, it'll go to your phone and you can, run downstairs, shut the water off. When I look at a house, I know what I'm not inspecting. I'm not inspecting solar panels. I'm not inspecting sprinkler systems. I'm not inspecting EV chargers, that kind of stuff. As for all the other technology that we talked about, the smart roofs, all that kind of stuff, some of it's hard for us to see, but I'm inspecting a roof if I'm able to
Same way,
find out.
right? Same way you would. Yep.
Same way I would. Windows, if it's 3 panes and I note it, great. If I'm having a bad day, it's gonna be called a thermal pane, so that could be 3 panes too. I'm not getting into the minutia on some of these houses on whether it's 2 or 3 panes. I'll say that it's a thermal pane window. I don't put in my reports if there's gas or anything like that, but I look for the fogging, the functionality, any physical damage, broken glass, ease of use. If windows are hard to open and close, I put that in the report. They were functional, but they're hard to open and close. So I'm trying to be as descriptive as possible. The other systems that we talked about with the heat pumps and all that, I inspect them now. So and we're very well educated. We're going to have webinars on them, and I do my own education on them. But how to explain them to clients can be tricky because they're new, especially with older people. They just don't. They just want to know if it's hot or cold. Um, the smart electrical panels, I don't see a lot. What I do see a lot of the whole house. What am I thinking of there? The whole house, like the battery backup or fault detection. I'll see that. Um, but yeah, the external generation is
surge
another. I
protector?
have it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The whole house surge protectors?
The whole house surge protectors. That's what I was thinking. Thank you, Mike. I see a lot of those. External generation. I see the Generacs everywhere. I have one at my house. I love it. But I look at it, I snap a picture, I give them, I tell them I don't inspect it. I say I have a very nice comment that tells them that they should get it serviced twice a year. I tell them what the approximate cost is. I tell them the maintenance that they have to do on it. I tell them if it's propane, make sure you find out who owns the tanks, if they're leased, are they put in the proper location? So that kind of system I'm going to inspect. But Stan does make a really, really good point. As this technology gets integrated into homes on some of these systems, we may find ourselves having to do them. Um, and as for the pricing, you know, we don't want to get into an issue with that, but I think a lot of us undervalue ourselves. And always be confident in what you're charging, because most of the time I know a lot of inspectors are not. I know I did not charge what I should be charging, and it took Stan really sort of scalding me and say, you've been doing this for a while now. You're not 2 years in. You're 16 years in. You got some experience. Start charging and acting like it. And he was right. You have to know your worth. Um, some of the times the money that you find to saving people, is unbelievable. I've done some inspections where we've totaled up $150,000 in repair work that needs to be done, and I'm charging 350. No, so I know I've raised my price, but I think this was, when Stan and I put this together, um, we were both a little concerned. Like, well, I had brought up the fact that we don't see a lot of these systems all the time, and is it going to be of value to our inspectors? And he made a good point. He's like, they may not see it now, but they're going to see it in the future. We don't have to go into depth on how smart learning works in a thermostat, but they need, the newer inspectors need to know what to inspect, what not to inspect, how to communicate it to a client. So I think this was
So,
just,
uh,
just a basic inform.
on that note, there, can I add something that I think would be
Sure.
beneficial
Sure.
to this class, and also
Yeah.
because I've had experience with it. So I did 17 years of commercial construction, and especially nowadays so we did a lot of like new roofs on schools, new roofs on YMCA's, and things like that. Nowadays, if they're gonna put a new roof on a school or a YMCA, they're gonna put solar on it. So I've installed thousands of solar panels. Couple things that are really, really important with installing solar panels is that all of the wires need to be properly secured up underneath the panel. So when I come across a residential inspection, I always advise my clients, like, you want to stand back and look up underneath your array. And you should do this at least a couple times a year and make sure that all those wires are properly secured up. If they are dangling or touching the roof when the wind blows, the granules on the shingles will wear away the insulation on those wires, and now you have a live wire in contact with your roof. The tar on the roofing shingles is a flammable material, so it becomes a fire hazard. So that's one thing that I always. So I don't report on the panels themselves or the array themselves, but I put that under my roof covering section. So if
Okay.
I'm noticing that there's dangling wires underneath the array, I make a note that there's dangling wires and that they should be inspected and properly corrected. The other thing that I learned from doing it is when the conduit comes up from the meter and then does that 90 onto the roof, that
Yeah.
conduit is supposed to extend underneath the panels, and there should not be any of the exposed wires there, because the UV rays from the sun will also deteriorate the insulation on those wires. So I've seen it where the conduit comes up, it does that 90, and then we have like a foot of exposed wires before they go underneath the panels. That's also a no-no. It needs to go, there shouldn't be any exposed wires. That conduit should extend completely underneath the array.
So Ryan, let me ask you a question. So you come across a house and it has solar panels. In your mind, you're looking for the stuff that you just talked about. We won't review that. And thank you. That's great information. But the solar panel itself, you're not checking amperage. You're not checking if it's functioning properly. You may see if it's fogging or something like that, but you're just looking for basic installation techniques. Now, in your report, do you say that it's not fully inspected, or are you just noting issues? Now it becomes an inspection issue. Do you know what I'm
So
getting at?
so that's why I said I note it under roof coverings, not.
Okay, not solar panels.
Yeah, yep.
Gotcha. That's smart. Okay. Because there's a theory that we go through when we do our law seminars and such, and they talk about the state standards. And the state standards are there. We're always taught to protect you. So as long as you follow the state standards, that's fine. You can always choose to go above the state standards. We've had attorneys tell us the issue is that when you go above one state standard, someone can come back to you and say, we found another problem with the solar array that you didn't pick out. You put it under roof covering. You went above the standard there. How come you didn't do that?
So I have a limitation statement saying that the array itself was not inspected, that there are parts of the roof that I could not see, could not inspect. But from my experience with that, with the experience of installing them, like I said, I put it under roof coverings. I notice, exposed wires or dangling wires,
Gotcha.
and recommend further evaluation and everything like that.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. Any other questions or concerns tonight? Well, so August 4th, we have boilers. I can tell you probably Stan's going to be doing that one. And we'll probably do it together or such, but we got a lot of exciting stuff to come up. And I'm constantly updating the website, so you can always check out the calendar of events. I will have certificates out to you for tonight's webinar by the end of the day tomorrow. If you do not get them, check your spam or junk folder. And if it's still not there, just email me and I'll get it right out to you. But again, thank you for coming tonight. And we always appreciate you showing up to these webinars.
Thanks, Jens. Appreciate it. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Jim.